I am going to move on. I'm going to move on because this is not a conversation about the tattoos. One of the other things that happened this week is that a California judge said that you can't just scoop people up and deport them without a warrant. And in that case, basically the judge is saying, you know, you're basically taking anybody who's in a particular area. If they don't want to talk to you, you're taking them, detaining them, and assuming that they are deportable, and that you can't really do that anymore.
What the judge is saying is nothing radical. This is basically comports with existing law. It comports with decades of decisions around this matter, which in like pure layman's basic terms means that ICE agents cannot go after people, arrest them and detain them solely on the basis of being brown, having brown skin and being working class. And what was so interesting about this case for me is that the Border Patrol did not contest any of the allegations.
They actually claimed that they changed their guidelines.
Their response was just that they were going to do better training. And this issue is right in line with the Mr. Abrego Garcia case. It's a question of due process. Whatever we feel about Mr. Abrego Garcia, it's honestly irrelevant. It's a question for the immigration judge.
On Mr. Garcia, we keep saying that there's no evidence that this guy belonged to a gang.
No evidence in court filings.
That's not true.
No, that is true. That is true.
Shermichael, that is true.
No. Hold on.
We always have to play this game of interrupting people when they're talking.
But you're
saying...
What
is the point of me being on the show if I can never finish my freaking point?
Okay.
This is getting really annoying, Abby.
Hold on.
Everyone else has made their statements. I have yet to say anything.
Hold on a second, okay?
I mean, Jesus.
Hold on a second.
Why are you so angry?
Because I want to say something, and I have a point of view to make here as well.
Hang on just one second. Shermichael, let me ask you a question. The question is, has the government presented evidence in court that Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13?
And my response...
And the answer is no, that has not happened in court. But it doesn't mean that they have not made those claims publicly. It doesn't mean that those claims are not in police reports.
In 2019...
It doesn't mean that they're not in police reports. They're just not statements that were made in a court case.
In 2019, the immigration judge at the time believed the Prince George's County gang unit and the evidence that they presented before that judge at the time that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. This is not my opinion. People can Google this crap. They can Google this. CBS reported on this. If a judge believed it in 2019, is it now all of a sudden not true?
The judge granted him a withholding of removal.
No, I acknowledge that fact.
Which is a different issue. Hold on.
But the point remains that a judge found the evidence to be credible that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. So now all of a sudden we're just not going to believe judges?
The judge
we can't have it both ways.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but my only point is that the government has not presented beyond the police report. They have not actually presented the evidence to prove that he belonged to this gang.
So police reports not considered evidence before a court of law? Do judges not consider police reports? What are we saying here?
Shermichael, what was the original?
This is relevant.
I actually want Shermichael to finish the point.
It absolutely is relevant to the argument from the administration, which is that Mr. Garcia belonged to a gang as one of the reasons of deporting him out of the country. But you guys are saying there's no truth to it. There's no facts to it. That's not true.
The Constitution is very clear. It does not say citizens. It says no person should be deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without due process. It doesn't matter what he's done in his past. The Boston Wait a minute. Let me finish. The Boston bomber had due process.
Yeah, that's due process.
That's what this is about. I gave you time. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay? This is a president who continues to twist the Constitution to adapt to whatever his vision is, to the point of the 2-year-old who was deported without due process, an American citizen. His father did not want him to go, and the only access he had to his daughter was listening to his daughter cry in the background in a 1-minute call. That 4-year-old did not get access to a doctor, despite the fact of having stage 4 cancer, did not have his medication with him when he was deported, an American citizen, to Honduras. This is what this president is doing. He is twisting the definition of the Constitution, and people like you are disparaging character to try to justify the disparity.
I'm not disparaging Due process does matter.
Did he have due process?
But the idea that Mr. Garcia's past doesn't matter is ludicrous.
We live
in a sovereign nation, and this idea that people can just come into our country and do whatever the heck they want to do is absurd. occurred to me. And if Democrats want to die on this hill, I promise you'll regret it politically. So go right ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
For Americans.
Go
Dan,
right ahead. We
Scott
don't want people breaking our laws coming into our country. That is a fact.
Let me let Scott have a word, and then we'll move on.
It seems to me that the political analysis of this, though, is, and a lot of average people are looking at it this way. Why is it that we can let 20 million people into the country just walk across, whatever, and there's no real process for them to do that, but then we have to individually pick out every single person and go through years upon years upon years of paperwork and this and that and the other, and all we're trying to do is send them back to where they came from because they came here illegally in the first place. 20 million in with no process. How do you get 20 million out with years and years of people fighting every single case? You could cherry pick any case you want. But the reality is the crisis that put Donald Trump in the White House was caused over years and years and years of neglect and letting people walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came in.
CNN polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Rodrigo
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN polling.
The
public is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this earth.
Asylum is a legal right.
If you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally with a deportation order? Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right,
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not? Now that's not relevant?
It's not
No,
relevant.
I'm talking about Marco Rubio because
Marco
Marco Rubio used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be
I'm not Marco
an advocate for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're not.
If you come into this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think a lot of Americans
to take care of other people.
There's a hell of a lot of people,
other
than the black people who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
They're not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said. I said there is a lot of people
There's a big difference. There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
There's a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Shermichael. Look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
It's not about acting indignant.
Let me just Shermichael.
Other than the black
Anna and Shermichael.
There are a lot of people from many
I think you actually misheard what
I
think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely misheard it? So now you're in my brain?
Shermichael, listen to me for just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You think I would say I will have advocated for black people my entire life and say something like that?
Because you've advocated for black people, great, congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black, you're not.
Okay, Shermichael.
That's right. I'm Latino and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Sure.
Do I want to go there?
No, I don't.
Okay, we're going to go to break. Raul Reyes, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody else, hang tight.
History was not
We'll be right back.
when I was studying history, like the president.